Hi friends, welcome to the channel. You're watching the Art Occultist and my name is Elisa. I am so happy to have you here with me today. If you're new here, the Art Occultist is a space where I share my passion for tarot and spirituality. Now, today is Monday, so we are going to do our weekly tarot reflections. This is a hashtag that I started last week, and it is going to be an ongoing series here on the channel. Basically, what this is, what our weekly tarot reflections is every week I pull a tarot or an oracle card as a main energy or theme for the week, for me personally. I sit down here with you guys to discuss it. I create a little tarot spread for us to do as a community. And that's basically it. So last week we had the theme of perception, and it was very interesting to me how it manifested throughout my week. Of course, I sat down here with you, I did my spread on camera, and if you've missed that, you can jump to the previous episode and watch that if it's of any interest to you. But throughout the week, I began noticing my perception around specific things. And there was one thing in particular that really stood out to me. Now, a few years ago, I had dealings with an entity. He was a guide for me briefly, and I did a little initiation with him, sort of. And this year, I had so far 2 experiences with another entity. Presumably, I thought that it was a different entity, but it turns out that it was the same entity from a few years ago. But he was showing me a different face of himself. Basically, earlier this year, I had this really weird moment between the waking state and dreaming state. As I was falling asleep, I saw this tall black figure, really black figure, standing just near my bed. And he was really hovering over my partner, like he was standing right on my partner's side of the bed, hovering over him. And this presence was really, really scary. So I woke up screaming and I was in this liminal space between being asleep and being awake. And this week I had similar experience with the same entity, this tall black figure standing at the edge of my bed, but this time he was reaching towards me, like he was leaning to grab me. Once again, it was very unsettling. There was a lot of fear, and I was once again in that state, that liminal space between being awake and being asleep. Now, how the theme of perception plays out in this whole scenario, in this whole situation. What I wrote in my journal when I pulled the card prior to the second experience with this entity was: rely on your direct experience, trust your perception and interpretation of the situation. This was very important because, like I mentioned, it was the second time for me this year to experience this dark figure. At first, I didn't make the connection with my initiatory experience with that other face of the divine a few years ago. And I was really scared. I was really bothered by that entity because the first time I mistook it as a dream, as something that was just a part of my imagination. But this week, when it happened a second time, I took notice and I decided to research. And instead of going within and actually trusting my own perception of the situation, I spent the whole week online researching this figure, the entity. Now the research was fruitful because I could connect all of the dots. I did connect all of the dots, but it was very interesting how the card was pointing towards relying on my direct experience and my inner knowing of how I perceive the situation, because ultimately, yes, the research was really helpful to me, but deep down inside of myself, I already knew that there was a connection. I just couldn't see it for whatever reason logically. So yeah, this was my experience with this card, the energy of perception, for last week. Now moving to this week and the energy for this week, I pulled the card of center. By the way, both cards are from this oracle, Sacred Earth Oracle by Blue Angel. I'm really enjoying this deck. But yeah, for this week's theme or energy, we have the theme of center. What I wrote in my journal is: break the hold of objects, habit, or relationships that insist you revolve around their needs and demands. Being centered makes you stronger. Let go of fixed expectations and timelines. A force is pushing you towards your true center. It's been a long journey, but the destination is so much closer than you think. Become your own center. This whole thing is taken straight from the guidebook. And it really, how do I express myself? Ties well with my experience from last week with perception and with this entity that I spoke about briefly. He was pulling all of my attention away from my existing practices, and he was trying to force me to make him the center of my attention and my energy. He was trying to insert himself into my practice. And this card reminded me that my whole spiritual practice revolves around me. I am the center. I am at the center of it. And it's not okay for this entity to try to center my practice around him. I really didn't like that. And this card really brought me back and made me realize what was happening. So this was very fruitful for me to see this card, those two cards, one after the other. So yeah, basically this is where I am at right now in my practice. This entity, I am going to be doing a lot more research with him, because last time, yes, I did an initiation with him, with another face of him, and last time he showed himself to me in a more gentle, loving, and caring capacity. And now those two experiences this year were very frightening, and I really don't like the change of attitude, if you will, or presentation. And I really need to work on why this is happening. And I have some theories, but regardless, I really need to focus on centering myself and grounding myself as the center of my spiritual life, and not building that around his presence and him coming back into my life. Now, the spread that I have for this week, I have created a seven card spread. So I am going to read you the spread positions, and then I am going to do the reading here with you for me personally. Okay, so the theme is centering ourselves in the center of our lives, not circling and orbiting other people, habits, and relationships. So the first spread position is: what in my life is pulling me away from my center and making me revolve around it? Number 2, why am I giving my power away? Number 3, how am I doing that? Number 4, what expectations do I need to let go of? Number 5, something that will help me shift back to myself. Number 6, how can I become my own center? And last but not least, number 7, how will that improve my situation? So this is the spread that we are working with this week. I'm going to write all of the prompts, the spread positions in the description box down below if you want to participate and do the spread for yourself. So let me just prop this journal here, grab my cards, and we will do the spread together. Okay. This week I'm working with the Darkwood Tarot. I love this deck. It is one of my favorite tarot decks. I think last week I also worked with it. But yeah, okay, so let me ground and center myself before the reading, before pulling the cards. Okay. Now I'm cutting the deck and I am pulling my cards. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So the first spread position was: what in my life is pulling me away from my center and making me revolve around it? The High Priestess card. The High Priestess is all about your inner world, being a channel for the divine, being in that position of direct communication, being really deeply immersed in certain mysteries, spiritual mysteries and teachings. And yes, this spiritual experience and me trying to interpret it and diving deep within it to find the meaning of it, to really discover the intentions of this deity or entity, really was pulling me away from my center. It was in the forefront of my mind. It was really distracting me all week long. And yeah, it's something that was really pulling me away from my center. And I can see how the High Priestess card illustrates that, because the High Priestess holds the knowledge. And I was really wrapped into research mode, trying to figure this whole situation out. I was really trying to get to the core of the situation, how I felt about it, how I was perceiving it, how I was interpreting the research and the information that I was gathering around that entity. It was really pulling me away from my center, so I can see how the High Priestess can speak to that element. The next one is, why am I giving my power away? Six of Cups. The Six of Cups is a card of rebalancing your emotions after a hard period of time emotionally, because number 5 in the tarot is very disruptive. It indicates change, and number 6 comes right after to harmonize the situation, and we are in the realm of the cups, so we are really talking about emotions, relationships, our internal world. I am giving my power away because this entity I don't know how much I want to share publicly about him just yet, but he presented himself as this very strong masculine presence. And if you're been here on the channel prior, you know that I've had a very difficult relationship with my own father. I don't take well authority when it comes from a masculine presenting individual or entity or deities for that matter. And I don't know, I am giving my power away because maybe there's something that I still haven't processed around my relationship to the masculine. To men in particular, I've been dealing with a lot of other things personally when it comes to how I perceive men in my life and around me, and the masculine within me. It's very interesting that the Six of Cups showed up when I asked about why I'm giving my power away, because I have this really unbalanced relationship with men in general. And for a while there, I was working with Lord Frere. I worked with Ganesha, both masculine presenting spirits entities. They were both very gentle, and this entity that I'm speaking about currently, when he first came to me, when we first connected, he was very loving, very nurturing, a little bit frisky even. He wasn't presenting himself as this father figure. He came to me more like a partner sort of dynamic. But I don't even remember why I disconnected. I think that I just wanted to focus on working with Hecate fully and dedicate all of my attention to her and the feminine divine. And now I feel like he is coming, and he came back with this and he presented himself to me in this frightening way because he wanted to shook me, he wanted to grab my attention, and maybe there are some shadows that I need to work through, and he is stepping back to help me heal my perception of the masculine. And to be quite honest, I don't really like men in general. At this point in my life, I tolerate very little people that are men being around me. I'm very critical about their behavior. And I'm way more critical about the men in my life than the women in my life. I don't know if that makes sense. I have way higher standards and expectations for the men in my life. And that stems from my own traumas with my father. So maybe this is what this whole thing is about, and I need to start centering myself in the core of this experience rather than making it all about him, this entity, and what he wants, why he presented himself in this way this time. Because last week I was really focusing on what does he want? Does he want to work with me? Does he want an altar space? Does he want to be equal to my other deities in terms of importance in my life? I was really giving him my whole attention and making him the center of my practice for the week, trying to figure out his needs. And instead of actually grounding myself and asking myself, okay, why is he coming in for you? What do you want? Do you actually want to invite him back into your practice? Do you actually want to engage with him? Instead of giving my power away to him and being, okay, come on in, let's structure everything around you. No, we are not doing that. And the cards are calling me to my senses as well. I need to center myself and make myself the priority, and then from that empowered place, I may engage with this entity. I may work with him, because I don't want to give my power away to anybody, a person, an entity, a deity. It's not what we are about here. So yeah, some unresolved childhood traumas are what made me step into that attitude of giving my attention and my power to him and centering him instead of myself. Now, once again, this is a spiritual entity that we are talking about, so it's a bit different than human relationships, but yeah. Okay, the next card is how am I doing that? Meaning, how am I giving my power away? Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands is fire of fire. It's a very passionate card. It's all about doing, going, pursuing your passions. And this entity is very passionate. He has some hints of sexual energies. And the lore supports that. My research supports that. It's very interesting entity. But how I was giving my power away to him, I was going with his desires, with what he wanted to do, with what he wanted from me, instead of, once again, what I wanted this connection to be from my perspective. I was placing him on a pedestal. I don't know if that's how you say it in English, but I was placing his desires, his needs above my own. And I was simply going with it without taking a moment to reconsider his role and if I actually like how he presented himself to me, if I actually liked his influence over me. I didn't take a moment to consider those things, and I was simply going with what he wanted because he showed up. And that's not the way to build a healthy relationship with deity or spirit, and it's not a healthy way to build a relationship with anything in your life. So this is how I gave my power away to this entity, and now I'm stepping back and taking my attention away from what he wants and placing it on myself. The next card is, what expectations do I need to let go of? Queen of Pentacles. Very interesting spread so far. What expectations do I need to let go of? The Queen of Pentacles is about this archetype that creates comfort. She is very nurturing. She takes care of those that she loves. She creates a very good home environment. She is very welcoming. She takes care of the needs of others. She's very down to earth, very materialistic. So what expectations do I need to let go of? The expectation that I will show up, I will cater to his needs, I will drop everything to create a environment that this entity likes, because I was as soon as I realized that this is a actual entity that's presenting himself to me, I began my research. I began searching for correspondences. I began asking about the author space, how he likes things, what offerings does he like. I really stepped into this role of the Queen of Pentacles, trying to create a environment within my space that was suitable for this entity. Now, this is not a negative negative thing in its own when you are building a relationship with a spirit, but I felt that I was pressured into it because of the fact that this year the spirit showed himself twice to me, and I was very afraid of it. So I wanted to please it, because I was feeling this fear within myself, because he showed himself as this very intimidating, in this very intimidating way. I was deeply afraid. So I stepped into this role of, okay, I need to please this entity because I still don't have all of the things connected. All of the dots connected, and I was shook to my core by the way that he presented himself to me. Like I said, I was very afraid. I was trying to figure out who he was, what he wanted, and at the same time, in the background, I was dealing with all of those things that I discussed with you about the unhealthy dynamic that I have with the masculine energy. So I was giving my power away, and I was trying to create this environment so that the entity is pleased, and so that I can figure this whole thing out, instead of actually stepping into my power and saying, this is not okay. I don't like to be scared. If you show yourself to me like this, we are not going to continue the communication. I don't like the way that you are presenting yourself to me. Because remember, as spiritual people, we are also spiritual beings. We also have power and sovereignty over choosing who we let into our spaces, physically, in terms of partners, friends, family, but this also applies to the spiritual realm. As people, we have the spiritual authority to say, no, I don't want to connect with you. No matter how powerful the entity is, you can set boundaries. And in the midst of my fear, and it was like I was some kind of lunatic trying to piece all of the pieces together, trying to please him, and I forgot that I also have sovereignty in this whole situation. So the expectations that I have, what expectations do I need to let go of, that I need to cater to his needs? This needs to go. I need to cater to my own needs. I need to take care of myself first and foremost, and then build relationships with people, spirits, what have you. So maybe that was the whole point of this spiritual experience. Maybe he presented himself like this on purpose, so that I can realize those things, and that I repeat those patterns with people in my life as well. Maybe that's what was the underlying thread that I need, or lesson that I needed to observe and learn. Like I said, I'm still working through this myself. So, okay, the next prompt is something that will help me shift back to myself. The Death card. Interesting, interesting. Something that will help me shift back to myself. Radical surrender and letting go of expectations. Because the Death card for me is a card of unavoidable shift and change, because death is the only certain thing for anything living. And whenever I see this card, I know that there is something that I need to accept. There's something that I cannot avoid. And this will help me shift back. This will help me shift back to myself. Accepting that fear is a necessary part of life, and this whole situation served a purpose, like I already mentioned. I was deeply shaken by the experience. I was thrown off of my center, but it also reminded me that I do hold power and I can choose how I respond going forward, how I interact with this entity and people in my life as a whole. So this will help me. I need to surrender. I need to let go and embrace the fact that this is an unavoidable lesson for me. And the fear is something that I need to embrace as a teacher. Yeah. Also, this entity has some, in his mythology, his lore, he has dominion over the realms of the dead in some ways. So I see a connection with the Death card with that as well. The next card is going to speak about how can I become my own center. Seven of Cups. That's a very interesting card. The Seven of Cups is a card all of options. Feeling that you have so many options that you cannot make a decision. But the Seven of Cups has another element to it. It's the element of delusion. So, how can I become my own center? I need to dispel all of those illusions that I have and actually focus on the truth behind the vision, if that makes sense. This is what's coming to me. So, the other thing with the Seven of Cups that I always try to remind myself of is not everything that shines is gold. So I need to be able to perceive behind the appearances of something. So in this instance, I was deeply scared of how this entity presented himself, but I need to be able to perceive behind that mask and behind the fear and behind the emotional response that I had, and actually see the truth behind the experience. Because there's a level of trickery, of illusion, of a veil being cast on my whole perception of the situation. So how can I become my own center? By reminding myself that I do have the ability and the power to see behind the illusion and to surrender to the experience, to see that it is unavoidable, that it has a lot to teach me, and to not be afraid to let go of the fear, because there is truly no point in being afraid, because there's no I'm not expressing myself in the best way possible. Fear as an emotion can be a great teacher and a great guiding force, for sure. It is an important part of the human experience. But you should not be afraid of fear, and you should not stop yourself because you're afraid. Because ultimately, nothing in this life is, how do I want to put this? Being afraid doesn't at the end, we are all going to die. This is my point. This is what I want to say, that yes, fear can teach me things while I'm alive, but ultimately the biggest fear that a person has is the fear of the unknown, the fear of death itself. And basically, this is the only certain thing that we know. We are all going to die at some point. So by overcoming this fear and by learning from it, you are going to gain a lot more than if you give in and if you keep being afraid. I don't know, this is, I'm having a lot of emotional responses that I don't know exactly how to put into words, but I hope that you get what I'm saying. Okay, the last card, how will that improve my situation? How will me stepping into my center, accepting all of those things, how will me perceiving behind the appearances and perceiving the truth of the situation, of this entity, his true intentions behind the mask and behind my fearful response? How will all of this improve my situation? I have the 10 of Wands. The 10 of Wands is a card of burdens, but it is also a card of completion. By becoming my own center, by going to the core of this experience, and by approaching this spiritual connection from a place of, I am my own authority. If you want to work with me, this is how it's going to go, but at the same time appreciating the lesson behind the experience of fear. How will this improve me in the long run, my situation? I'll be able to complete this cycle of feeling oppressed. I will be able to complete the cycle of this trauma that I have around the masculine and my relationship with men in general. I will be able to drop all of that and move on with my life without carrying all of the weight of those experiences, those expectations on my shoulders. Because like I said, I have a lot of issues with men in general, with the masculine, and this is partly why I chose to focus my spirituality around the goddess, around the divine feminine. But now I am seeing that this entity showing himself once again after I dropped the relationship in the past to focus on Hecate and the goddess. There is something behind that experience, and it is something deeply rooted within me from my childhood, from my relationship with my father, that is actually tainting my experience with the divine and with myself. With the relationship that I have, with the expectations that I have, with how I present, how I act around men in my life. All of those things I feel are linked with this experience, and I do feel that this entity has pure intentions despite this whole situation and my response to it. I think that I have a lot more to explore with this deity. I am not ready to share the whole story openly. I need to do a lot of inner work first before I can speak more openly about him, about the whole thing, you know. But yeah, this is the episode for today. Our weekly tarot reflections is something that I enjoy deeply. If you resonate not with the story but with the theme of centering yourself, becoming your own center, please participate. You can do a VR to the spread if you want. You can discuss. You can share your thoughts with us around being the center of your life, your practice, basically whatever you feel like sharing. Once again, you can use the hashtag #OurWeeklyTarotReflections. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending this time with me. I truly appreciate our time together. And this was deeply enlightening for me and my situation. Yeah, you are watching the Art Occultist. Once again, my name is Elisa. Thank you so much for being here with me. And before we part ways, I want to remind you to like and subscribe to the channel so that we can grow as a community. And also, I want to share that I am a professional tarot reader, deck creator, and spiritual practitioner. So I offer numerous services. You can check all of them through the links under the description of the channel and under the video. So yeah, I'll be grateful if you decide to work with me, if you decide to purchase one of my tarot or oracle decks on Make Playing Cards. And yeah, your support means the world to me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.